piece on the Secretary of State's office, Mark Ritchie, and how once again they followed up the election count or the vote count and the recount in Maplewood. So with that, let's get started right away. And do we have, what do we have up? Do we have the Ramsey County Charter Commission up? Let's play that. I think what we're going to start, this is, I think we're going to start with a person by the name of Andy Seelick, and he's with the Minnesota, I think he'll say. Let's, I have it written in my notes. Play the tape.
Persons here to provide input to the Charter Commission.
Here we go, as soon as we get the sound up here.
If so, that hand went up first. So
I don't know.
I would ask you to step forward.
Do we have a problem?
Keep in mind that our policy has been that each comment be limited to 3 minutes, so we'd appreciate that.
3 minutes should be just about perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, my name is Andy Seelick. I'm the president of the Minnesota Voters Alliance. We're a 501c4 corporation, nonprofit corporation. We have about 3,000 members, most of which reside in Ramsey County. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the 10 or 11 of you that took the time to speak with me yesterday, including the 2 of you who agreed to come on our radio show at one of our shows at the State Fair. I have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is that the citizens of Ramsey County are in peril of losing their charter endowed right to a referendum on ordinances passed by the Ramsey County Board. The good news is that the Charter Commission has the power and the duty to protect citizens and enable them to exercise that right. Specifically, the special law being contemplated by the legislature and governor will authorize the Ramsey County Board to pass an ordinance raising the county sales tax by 0.5% in order to fund the new Viking Stadium. The real peril, though, comes from the provision of the special law that removes the citizens' right, extending them to them under the charter to render their judgment on the sales tax ordinance in a referendum. The Charter Commission can thwart this attack on the charter by proposing an amendment to the charter requiring a referendum be held before any sales tax hike is allowed to take effect in this county. The power to use the charter amendment to overrule the action of the special law is found in the same article of the Minnesota Constitution that authorizes the special law itself. Article 12, Section 2 says, the legislature may enact special laws relating to a local government units, but a special law, unless otherwise provided by general law, shall become effective only after it's approved by the affected unit, expressed through the voters, or the governing body, and by such majority as the legislature may direct. Any special law, and this is important, any special law may be modified or superseded by a later home rule charter or amendment applicable to the same government unit, but this does not prevent the adoption of subsequent laws on the same subject. Note that the power of a charter amendment to reverse or otherwise supersede a special law is located precisely in the sentence following the constitutional grant of authority to the legislature to enact special laws. That is, charter amendments are specifically intended to control the undesirable provisions of special laws. The memorandum distributed to each commissioner covers additional details of the process involved. In the limited time I have allotted, I would just like to emphasize 2 points. First, due to the lateness of the day, the Commission does not have full control to place an amendment on the November ballot. The law for amending requires the proposed amendment to be in the hands of the County Elections Division by September 12th, 8 weeks prior to the November 8th election. Also, the proposed amendment requires a legal determination be made by the County Attorney's Office, which has 30 days to respond to you. Therefore, unless the County Attorney is willing and able to expedite the legal review, you will not be able to comply with the deadline. Second, I would like to be frank and respectfully submit to each Commissioner, regardless of his or her feelings about the sales tax hike or about the Viking Stadium issue, has a fundamental duty to protect the Charter. Placing referendum amendment on the ballot would meet that duty. The governor and the legislature should not be allowed to trample the rights of county citizens by abrogating the charter for their own purposes. In addition, by getting the referendum vote done this fall, that is, sooner rather than later, everyone, including the Vikings, benefits because of the clarity is gained from having the voters' voices heard that will allow planning to move forward on sure footing. Finally, the Minnesota Voters Alliance has no position on the sales tax hike itself or on the issue of funding the Viking Stadium. We simply seek to protect the citizens' right to vote in a referendum. Last sentence. Accordingly, if the referendum cannot be held during this fall's general election, then the Minnesota Voters Alliance would seek to push it forward to the November 2012 ballot. Your attention to this matter is commendable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Andy Selleck, Minnesota Voters Alliance. As you looked at the screen, to his immediate right there was Rod Halverson. Rod is a member of the, of course, the Charter Commission. He's also the chair of, I believe, the St. Paul DFL. All right, we have that, so you understand the issue that's there, protecting the charter, protecting the right of citizens to vote. And whether or not the legislature, people like Leon Lilly, Chuck Wieger, Norris Slawick, will go around the voters and pass a piece of legislation, and those people I just named are state senators and state reps, go around the citizens of Ramsey County's right to vote. You have to remember what went on over in Hennepin County, how they manipulated the situation. The legislature took the right of the citizens away, and lo and behold, they were forced to fund the Twin Stadium. Now, you can say, well, I'm willing to pay for it, or I'm not willing to pay for it. But the issue is that you have the right to vote to determine whether or not you're going to transfer your money to the billionaire Ziggy Wolf's enterprise and the Vikings. So now, let's, if I can get the attention of the person on the phone back there, maybe we can play the next piece. I see some. John, get them to play the next piece. They're in the back room talking on the phone, and everybody is in Gaga land again. This isn't hard, guys.
Please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Bob Sick, Ramsey County resident, and several issues tonight. First, I would hope this body would take action on the Minnesota Voters Alliance request and directive, and as stated by Andy Selleck and followed up by Mr. Greg Copeland. This is a very serious matter, and I take you back to the resolution that this body passed their last meeting. Resolved, the Ramsey County Charter Commission opposes any effort to circumvent the Ramsey County Home Rule Charter and the citizens of Ramsey County by denying Ramsey County citizens the right to vote on a county-wide sales tax, or preventing Ramsey County citizens from seeking a referendum to place this extremely important public policy on a ballot for the citizens of our county to make a final decision. And be it further resolved, the Ramsey County Charter Commission values the right of the people to choose by referendum and would oppose any effort to circumvent the referendum process presented in the Ramsey County Charter. Now that's your own official resolution, and what the Minnesota Voters Alliance is requesting is just a fulfillment of that resolution, and it's a preemptive action against the state legislature to come in here and, as your resolution says, circumvent the charter. So I would hope that the discussion would take place on this, and it wouldn't be a matter of tabling it for further discussion at your quarterly meetings, which would absolutely prevent it from getting on the ballot by election time. All right, that's that first issue. In looking at this, I also went tried to find the members of the Charter Commission on the website. First, it's hard for somebody that's not totally familiar with your site to find the members and walk through there. That's a difficult process. Next, once you do find the commission members, half the commission members don't have a phone number listed. I really think that people that are serving the public ought to make themselves available and not just say they're 7/24 or 24/7. And when I looked at that, there was only one commissioner, and that's Mr. Olson over there, that listed his email address. I think that's something else that should be on there. I think when citizens of this county need to talk to one of their charter commissioners, it should be something that is available to them. Now, the other thing in looking at your own rules here, I noticed that members can be absent for 3 non-excused attendance. First of all, I have no clue what an excused absence is, but since you have quarterly meetings, my gosh, what is that, 9 months, a year? I would think that if a member can't be here, this body ought to set in place something for that member to be replaced automatically by the appointing judge or by the commission itself. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, that was the Charter Commission. Those were a couple of public comments there. And that last issue that I raised there, it's unbelievable. They meet quarterly, and so if they're absent 3 times, that would actually bring them up to a year, because it's 3 months absence, 3 months absence, 3 months absence, and then 3 months before the next meeting. So that's a whole year that they can be gone. And the commission talked about, well, maybe they're serving a special function or doing... No. If they're not there to participate in the discussion and the votes, they should be gone. There should be a requirement that they participate. My gosh. The other thing they talked about, you didn't see it there, was these salary raises, 20 and 25% given to the county commissioners, and they want to try to do something so that has to go to the vote of the people. Absolutely necessary. So we have some more here to play. We'll play the next video clip, and this is further discussion on this same issue. And I would hope that I can't believe that this business should be subsidized by government when other businesses don't get a new plant built for them, don't have special give-backs on concessions and naming rights and things like that. You know, folks, let the organization pay for their own facility. Let the facility, even if you gave them the property or sold it to them, let them build what they want, and then let the taxpayers recover the property tax off of the development, whatever they want to put in there, a stadium, parking, of course, concessions, a mall with all these other venues. Let them do what they want, and then tax them like everybody else is taxed, like every other business is taxed. All right, let's play some more of the discussion. I think that, was this the discussion now about divulging if you had, no, okay. Go ahead and play. We'll all watch what it is here. Go ahead.
A motion made.
I'd like to bring this to a close here.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I think we've heard very, very good discussion and certainly concerns. but I think I'd like to see what the prevailing decision of the commissioners would be. So I would move that we have a special meeting of the commission 2 weeks from today on the 29th at a location to be...
I'm on vacation till the 30th. Wednesday.
Let me change the date then.
And I need 3 days.
That was Rod Halverson made the motion that they call a special meeting in 2 weeks to have a complete discussion on this issue, lay out the pros and cons, call for a special election, and the issue with the special election the intent is would be to get this done so it would be on the ballot in November. Now, the other thing that came up was whether or not all municipalities in Ramsey County were having an election. You know, St. Paul is, Maplewood is, but there's some areas that might not be having a city election. I reminded them that you also then have to look at the school districts if they're having an election. And maybe somebody in the back can correct me, but they said, well, how about a township like White Bear Township? I believe White Bear Township, and I'm looking for some help back there, is that part of the Matamidi School District, White Bear Township? They're having their conference back there again. Nobody's paying attention. I'm going to put a gig, yes. Okay, they're saying. So I said the school districts will be having, Matamidi School District is going to have a technology levy referendum. So I'm almost certain that with very minor exception that every municipality is going to have an election, that this could be added into that election process, and the people could say whether or not they want to incur an additional sales tax and to stop the legislature from forcing this upon them. And we have a phone call. Let's take the phone call, and then we're going to play another segment here. Caller, are you with us? Question or comment?
More of a comment. You need to look at folks need to look at the Hennepin County situation, because I remember when Phil Krinke was head of I believe the finance committee for the Twins ballpark. Basically, it was the outstate legislatures, whether it be Democrat or Republican, and at that time there were more Republicans in the Minnesota House than there were Democrats. Most of the outstate legislatures voted for the current sales tax in Hennepin County. And the funny thing about the Hennepin County sales tax, there's no end date on that. Most sales tax have an end date. The one in Hennepin County does not. So I think the ones that you really need, that your audience really needs to focus their attention on, is Julie Rosen, who's a Republican from Fairmount, Minnesota. She's a senator, southern part of the state, and Representative Maury Lanning, a Republican from Moorhead. And you need to get to those two, because those are the two sponsors in the House and Senate that are pushing this legislation. And you need to remind those two folks that because they live nowhere near where the stadium's going to go, they're not going to have to pay this tax. And I think Ann Lencheski, who's a Democrat from Bloomington, said it best. She says those two are laughing at Hennepin County residents every day because they have to pay that additional 0.15% sales tax. And I think the other two people you need to really target on, besides Victoria Reinhardt, who keeps flipping around on the issue, is Tony Bennett and Rafael Ortega. They're the pushers in Ramsey County of trying to get the sales tax through. And you got to remember, on May 6th, on one of the TV shows, Tony Bennett had basically said, the question was, do you believe in a referendum? And Tony Bennett's response was, this is the Republic. I'll make those decisions for you. So I think those are the four people that your audience really needs to focus their attention on. And you really need to, and this is one particular case where I agree with the Tea Party members, like Dave Thomas, who's the senator from Lakeville and the senator from Egan. You need to get to them saying, you know what, Ziggy just needs to sell a couple of properties and he can pay for the stadium himself. The City Council of Los Angeles just voted to build a new stadium to bring a professional team in there, but there's a company in Los Angeles that's paying the $1.8 billion that's needed to build this stadium. So I think that's another thing that needs to be thrown out there. Rather than relying on government funds to fund this stadium, they need to be looking at some of these private sector companies to fund this stadium.
Caller.
Go ahead.
Caller, the two names again of the Republican legislators, are they?
Senator Julie Rosen.
Julie Rosen.
From Fairmont, Minnesota.
Okay.
And Republican Maury Lanning from Moorhead, Minnesota.
Maury
Lanning
from Moorhead.
Right.
Okay. And Julie Rosen is from where again?
Fairmont.
Fairmont.
Down by the Minnesota-Iowa border.
You know what strikes me here, caller, is that I would think that the Republicans would adhere to their principles. I believe their platform, the Republican platform itself, calls for no public funding of a stadium, but yet I see the Republicans seem to be the ones on board to have this transfer of wealth from the taxpayers to the billionaire, and it seems like the Democrats, like Rod Halverson here on the commission and others, are saying, wait a second, we want to protect the citizens, the working people, and we don't necessarily think it's right unless the citizens say it's okay to take their money and give it to the billionaire.
Well, you got to remember, the billionaire represents big business. That's why they're bending. That's why the Republicans are bending over for this guy. The little guy is the one that has to pay for it. It's like everything else. When the layoffs come, you don't see the big shots taking the hits. It's the little guy.
All right, caller. Thanks for the call. Anything else?
No, that's it. But like I said, I mean, you guys are on the right track. But I also think you need to focus on these other legislators as well, into making sure that the citizens' vote is protected.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, now I think the next piece is the issue about, do you have a conflict of interest because you're say, a member of the Minnesota Voters Alliance? Listen to this. Now, the person that makes this statement is somebody that's pushing for the stadium, for the taxpayers to fund the stadium. If you were there to see him at the previous Charter Commission meeting, he's an advocate for public funding. So listen to what he does, and then listen to one of the other commissioners, put him in his place. All right, go ahead.
Consideration. Mr. Hendricks.
Mr. Chair, so there's no perception of any perceived conflict of interest. I would like any members of this body to identify themselves if they are members of the Minnesota Voters Alliance, and if so, in what capacity.
Of the commission members?
Yes.
I am not.
I think that's a bit
directly.
Come on. Right? If you got a conflict, you have an ethical duty to disclose the conflict. I don't think we should pick out organization. Anybody here a member of the ACLU? Well, let's not do this. Let's not do this.
Moving right along. If you have a conflict, I would assume that you would do the right thing and let staff or the chair know.
Mr. Chair, if we're talking about conflicts, let's make sure we talk about both sides. It only makes sense, and you're right. If there's a conflict on either side of this issue that one of us has, that should be duly noted and appropriately abstained from any voting.
Financial Vikings.
Whatever the pieces, I mean, the fact that I own the Vikings doesn't necessarily mean that I have a conflict with what we're talking about. The point if we're talking about conflict of interest in anything else, it really should be.
Okay, what do we have next? The actual vote that they took? Okay, can we play the vote and then I want to do the Maplewood stuff, or you have the Maplewood? I guess I just soon have them show the vote. So we can go around. Okay, play what you have. I think we're going to go to the Maplewood or the Secretary of State stuff. Is that right? Play what you have. Do whatever you have up. All right, I guess they're looking for direction from me. what goes on is we have all this videotape, and whether or not they're ready to what they have loaded up, and there's that communication gaps. We have the school board stuff. We're going to go into the school board stuff. Or are we going to go with the vote? Go with the vote. Whatever you have. I can't understand what this means.
We're going to go
something.
school board.
Go to school board. Okay. We're going to go to the school board. This is St. Paul School Board last night. Play the order that we have. First of all, we're going to have the, again, we're going to play the rules. Play the rules. Start it out. Okay, St. Paul School Board.
We will now just pause. Thank you very much. You might, if you would remain, because there may be additional questions.
Sure, absolutely.
We're going to now begin our order of the day, which is our public comment time. And I see Ms. Emerson coming up. Okay. I'll read our statement. Public comment is the part of the board agenda where the public has the opportunity to address this Board of Education regarding issues they wish to comment on or bring to the board's attention. All speakers are asked to sign in on the sign-in log, and I actually have it here to show you what it looks like, and that was available by the door, and to complete the sign-in form, including as much detail as possible, and provide a written copy of your presentation if you have one available. The sign-in log and the sign-in sheet are at the table near the entrance door, and anyone who has not called in advance may sign up now. Please be sure to turn in the sign-in form to either the staff person handling the sign-in, which is Ms. Chris Emerson in the bright orange sherbet dress there, or Ms. Polsfus up here. And please do so before you leave this evening. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to listen. It will not be a time to engage in dialogue, board members. Okay. As a general rule, the board will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. Speakers are advised, for their own legal protection and the legal rights of staff, that any complaint or issue related to personnel must be made in writing, and your public comment should not include names, titles, or location names for any staff.
Well, that's incorrect. You have the absolute right to mention names and titles. See, these people believe that they should not be held accountable. And even the chair, and we'll play the rest of the video clip in a second, we'll continue from right where we are, that they should not be held accountable. And so, yes, as a citizen, you have every right when you get up and speak, if they have citizen participation, to use names and titles so the rest of the citizens in the community know who's being responsible. You know, you can't slander them or you can't libel them, but you can say things that are true. So we have that, and even the school board chair said he sign up with, Chris Emerson, I forget the other person. She used two names. Why is it all right? So keep in mind, and now also listen, that they're going to say that you have 3 minutes. Well, once again, they cut me off at 2.5 minutes. So let's play the rest of this. Listen. We don't have it. Go to the next one. We have technical. Anyway, the rest of the rules are that you had 3 minutes. Okay. And watch for the red.
That information to our attention. Our next speaker this evening is Mr. Bob Zick. Good evening, Mr. Zick.
Good evening, board, superintendent, staff. Bob Zick. Because of the time constraints you've put on this, people can see and hear the full discussion Monday night on St. Paul Neighborhood Network, Channel 15, 7 to 8 p.m. last board meeting. Your public comment is time certain. When you move it around a half hour, it's not time certain. I came here, I was turned away. I was told that public comment was over. I left only to find out that there was other people that were told wrong and came here and then were allowed to speak after I left. Shame on you. I put in a request for public data. The request concerning the cost of moving planners to 1930 Como and the cost of office beautification in this building. About $200 million or $2 million for the moving of the planners, about $1 million for cost beautification. I asked for exact numbers, was told, go to the legal department. What does that cost? About $300 an hour to get some information that's public? That's despicable. First, we practiced age discrimination of teachers around here, the ones that we forced out. And now we're practicing class discrimination. And by class discrimination, I'm talking about what's going on with the building custodian engineers and the taking of their computer information and using it to force them out the door. And you know, this is happening to some of our best engineers in this district. And it's being done under the guise of inappropriate material on their computer, which they were never given training for, were never told any restrictions. Now, I bring that up in light of the fact that in so many other departments that I'm personally aware of, that this offense has gone on unpunished. And when I came to this board and said there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that are being stolen from this district, and had asked for a meeting with the superintendent to lay this out, that was just idle words, I guess, to you people. Unbelievable. Well, you know, these same people are now spending hours cleaning off their hard drives and erasing emails and stuff so they don't suffer the consequences that you bestowed upon our custodian engineers. I think we have a standard here that needs to be addressed, and I think somebody really needs to take a look at it. And you know, I always thought the superintendent was in charge here, but now I'm coming to realize that the chief operating engineer, Michael Ballman, is the one that really runs this place.
Thank you very much for your comment.
I think the board needs to get a handle on it, and I would take the opportunity to talk to every board member and fully explain what's happening around here. Thank you
very much. Thank you.
You know, remember, down there at the school district, they have the SSSC, and they have their conjured up meaning for it, but what it really is, Soviet-style systemic control. And you notice as soon as I mentioned the chief business officer, Michael Ballman, name, it's like, uh-oh, you actually are telling people who's responsible down here. Of course, now, Michael Ballman, we're going to take a look at this. I think he has some kind of a business degree only, and of course, his mother was Luz Maria Serrano, and she was a assistant superintendent down there. And of course, the school district has a lot of nepotism in it. There are so many family connections in there. But so now we see this chief business officer, Michael Ballman. He's actually the one that's pushing the buttons down there from what we're seeing and being told. And so we want to make sure that people know who the game players are here. And the other interesting thing is, see, your host receives lots of information from people. It comes from all over. And of course, it's as any news media person, my sources stay protected and confidential. So one of the issues is that the school district down there was looking at tapes and so forth of the meetings and things I've said to find out if there was some way that they could silence your host. Folks, after 20 years, I think they're up against a task that I doubt that they're going to accomplish. But isn't it funny? Isn't it sad that rather than respond to somebody that comes in and says, you know, I want to give you information on hundreds of thousands of dollars of theft, that any business I know out there would say, we want to hear it right now. Not the school district. Not the school district that's $25 million in the hole, and we'll take a phone call in a second. $25 million in the hole. They have summer school with the classrooms 90 degrees, and so we can't create an environment for learning, yet we can take $3 million for office beautification down there at what we refer to as the Ivory Tower, the administration building, or $2 million to move planners, to shuffle planners around from the administration building out to the district service center and do a total remake out there for a couple million. And then when you say, I want the exact numbers, they say, well, you know, they try to find ways to keep you from getting public data. Well, you have to put that request in writing to the legal department. So we incur $300 an hour in legal fees trying to stonewall the information giving. So you have that. Now, you know, when you talk about, and that $3 million, where that $3 million, my understanding is, came from, is there had been a overpayment or overcharging for the premiums for the employees' health insurance. So the money came from the health insurance refund, and instead of putting that with, keeping that with the employees, they put it over into new office furniture and carpeting and remodeling. And, you know, how does that help the children? How does that help the children learn? You know, that's the question. And the other question is, I want to know how their investigation is going of me, the host. So, and then, you know, the other thing to think about, down there by the airport in St. Paul, Plato, they have some, trainers, coaches, supervisors, and they found that, you know, these are people that are making $80,000+ a year, not counting their $25,000 in benefits, but they gave each one of them a $35,000, it was either $30,000 or $35,000 pay bonus, plus $400 a month car allowance, just a flat allowance. Didn't have to validate any mileage at all. It's really hard to get up to even $200 a month, and yet they're just giving them $400 flat car allowance. So this is, you know, when don't tell us you don't have any money. $25 million, and you know who I hold accountable? The school board. I hold the school board accountable for not taking on these issues that relegate their duty, fiduciary duty, over to the superintendent, Silva, and Michael Ballman, and let them run. And Carol ought to understand what a little micromanagement could do for that organization, school board member and Carol. All right, let's play a few more clips here. Here's the next person that, let's take a phone call. Caller, are you with us? Question or comment?
Bob, I'm glad you're back on the Bob Zick Big Show. This is wonderful and fun to watch. Try to watch it every week. Bob, you know how it goes in the school system, it seems like. It's debt first, pension next, administrators next, and kids last. Hey, what I want to know, Bob, because you were there, you're different than most reporters at the paper where they just print the press releases. We can see you actually attend the meetings. I want to know is why was the chair of the meeting and the superintendent laughing when she said in her rules there on that clip you played that we'll listen to the people, and then they all started laughing. They busted out laughing. What was that all about? Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, caller. You know what the caller says in terms of, you know how we're sold No Child Left Behind? This came from out in Washington, state of Washington, by one of the school board candidates. No administrator left behind. So they take care of their own. All right, let's play the next clip. I think the next clip is another citizen talking about the misuse of, I can't remember if it's state or federal money. Go ahead and play the next clip.
It looks like you're going to need to pull the mic down closer. Do you? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
And wait, there you go.
Yeah, I do have copies for each one of you.
Okay, and
so
we'll have you give them to Ms. Emerson as you checked.
Sure.
Okay.
I am here for a number of reasons. The first is because I pay taxes in Ramsey County. Also, I'm a person who believes all children have a right to a good education. And finally, I'm a retired employee of the St. Paul Public Schools. I can tell you that I am disgusted with the way money is squandered in St. Paul Public Schools' federal programs in their Title I. Money that had been designated for the homeless program for the 2010 to 2011 school year was in part inappropriately spent for purposes not intended in the Title I budget. From January through June 14th, 2011, a member of the homeless team, earning over $30 an hour, I might add, was directed to leave the homeless program and perform meaningless tasks. Consequently, the homeless program was reduced by one person, and thus, children and families had to wait longer for services or simply did not receive services. The tasks included cleaning out a storage room, watching the assistant in the Title I program clean out the files, and then label the files for her. Consisted also of counting brochures and putting them in boxes, making a poster.
It's the misappropriation of monies that were intended for one purpose and are being used for things that they should not be. Just like taking the health insurance money and doing office beautification or the moving of or remodeling for movement of people. When you have a $25 million deficit and you want to tell the people you're broke, wouldn't you think that you would rein in on some of the this non-necessary spending? And wouldn't you think you would want to find out where there's a theft of hundreds of thousands of dollars? All right, let's play the next piece, and this is the superintendent here. We have a couple pieces on the superintendent. Well, I don't know what they're doing back there. They're befuddled, I guess. All right, should I just go on with the next issue? I don't know, it was all in order. The next one was
the buildings. You will have a chance to know. But today my report, it's going to be quite a little bit different than any other times. We're going to start with an overview of how as administration and as a district are prepared to receive our students and families in less than 3 weeks. And second, as always, we are going to do the human resource transaction. This is our last regular meeting before the opening week, as you probably are, especially you, the audience, are very excited about September 6th.
Let's go to clip number 4. Clip number 4 will be the superintendent again. And of course, we set these things up. You saw the windows there. We take and we tried to take from about a 3-hour meeting enough to give you a sample. So we'll go to number 4 window. All right, let's play that. This is the superintendent again.
And the only piece that I wanted to add is the fact that we have been doing the cultural proficiency training, and our chief of staff was able to mention the different levels and then how we are continuing with the work in that area. We also have, we're starting to look at how we can even prepare our principals and leaders deeper. We are focusing, and as you know, we have the grant from Travelers as well as the federal grant. We're going to focus on different ways of prepare our staff for the current assignment as well as for the future. Because what I want is one day when I retire, which should be not long, not really, but I'm dreaming, that we can look back and we have many, many future leaders that we can pick from. And it's going to be an opportunity for many of us to continue growing. So with that and the direction.
All right. The superintendent might be dreaming. We're praying that her retirement is not too far off. And so now they're going to talk about the LLC. I am very much opposed when people start using acronyms, abbreviations. LLC commonly refers to as limited liability corporation. I think it's probably a good thing to keep in mind. Limited liability. You watch it. This next person is John Broderick. John used to teach over at Como Senior, now as a board member. So he's gonna ask about some costs. We'll play that, and then we're gonna have just another short clip. So let's play clip number 6 is next. Are we ready? All right, go. Here's John Broderick.
I assume that the cost of getting our personnel to the summit is our cost, correct? I mean, if we have X number of staff members that are excused from or not going to be on their job place, then that part of the cost of the summit is what they're being paid for those 2 days that they're at the summit. My question is this a joint sharing of the cost of this entire summit between the St. Paul Public Schools and LLC? And so back to my original question, what is LLC delivering or contributing, I guess, that's a better word, thank you, Director Carroll, contributing to this summit. The summit in itself sounds like a wonderful idea. I guess I'm just, and I know these things are expensive. My question is, how much is it costing us, and what are they contributing?
Director Matt.
All right, let's real quickly go to the last clip. And the last clip, we're just going to play the first 55 seconds of it, and then that's all. We were going to play a piece by Keith Hardy, board member, and Ann Carroll. We're going to run out of time here, as always. So play the next clip. We have 55 seconds of it, and then cut it. All right, go.
going across the nation. In Minnesota, as you know, we're okay, if we wanted to call it, with the math, but with the language arts, but we're still questioning the level of rigor, if you wanted to call it, in the math. But the reason that we have been working very much with the State Department as well as with the teacher union is being the leading on something so essential as what is going to look in the future. It's a privilege for the district. Not to say that because it's a privilege, and I'm going to go to Director Broderick about the conference. I do know that this seems like a lot of money, and I would like to get also myself the different levels of how the money is going to be spent. But when you
All right, we're gonna leave that there. Let's come back out to the set. Okay, now, if we can real quickly, do we have something from the Secretary of State's? We're down to 5 minutes. I want to move. I want to touch back on the Charter Commission just by saying we're not going to show the vote. I think the vote was something like 9 in favor of having the special meeting in 2 weeks and 2 opposed. I recall that. We won't spend the time showing that, but it was a roll call vote. So we have the names of who voted with the citizens, who voted against the citizens. All right, if we have the Secretary of State, this is Mark Ritchie's office. Remember how they've screwed up these elections over there. You know, this is the DFL using the Secretary of State's office, that very partisan Mark Ritchie over there. Well, this election that took place in Maplewood, there were precincts where votes were tallied to up in Duluth. So there was precincts that had no vote counts. So let's play what we have here, and we'll run out of time. And then there was something in...
Explain this to me. Now, why would the Secretary of State's office compile a list, and what this list specifically shows is the candidates are right on top of the page, and then you have numbers not only for the city of Maplewood, but for Duluth, Rochester, and Bloomington as well.
Sure.
And so what would be the explanation for this?
There obviously was a problem with us displaying these particular precincts for the correct cities, which we then looked at and fixed this morning prior to the start of business this morning. So there was a time when we did have additional precincts with wrong information showing on that particular report.
These reports, you know, came out after Ramsey County. Well, actually, you had yours posted before Ramsey County, as we already got through that.
All right. So what's going on there is you have to understand, not only does the Secretary of State's office screw up these vote totals, not only does the county screw them up, and not only does a city like Maplewood find 77 votes in the bottom of a previously used voting machine, or, you know, that for a candidate to take and say accept defeat in an election without having the actual vote counts on the paper that comes from each precinct is a mistake, because you see the problems all the time that happen. Do we have more for that or not? That's it. Okay, so that was, of course, that was Beth Sletton. Beth was one of the candidates in the primary for Maplewood, and came up, I think, 9 votes short. Now, and what people called me about is they can't believe, when we're out of time, I wanted to read from Sundays, this person that wrote in a letter to the editor about how we have to make sure we keep public employees working so they can stimulate the economy. Of course, this person doesn't ever think about any argument has to work out on both ends, not just in the middle, and ought to think about, well, if public employees stimulate the economy, everybody should be a public employee. All right, we're out of time. We're down to 30 seconds, I guess. I am your host, Bob Zick, broadcasting from Suburban Community Channels, White Bear Lake. This is Wednesday, August 17th. Thank you for being with us. And of course, we'll be back again next week.
Welcome.